Okay, so welcome everyone. It is July the 5th, 2023, and we're going to be looking at the root chakra and what's embedded within the root chakra, access to the first dimension and the void, the blessing and virtue of compassion, and the universal law of sacred purpose. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so we are journeying within the self for embodiment of love and how things work in the higher realms. And as I go along, if you have questions, just speak up or raise your hand. I'll sign there. Okay, so we've got Albert Einstein, who's going to be explaining the first dimension, the Buddha with compassion, and Sanat Kumara with the universal law of sacred purpose. Okay, so the ruby red root chakra is right at the base of the spine. It's associated with the musical note C, and it is all the chakras are for balancing and function. So this chakra is actually connected to the kidneys, the spine, and the adrenals. And this deep red color is like the color of blood. And the kidneys purify blood by removing nitrogenous waste products and excreting them in the urine. So it's just, it's amazing that it's connected to the blood. The spine is like being connected to the spine is like the alignment with universal law, and the first one being sacred purpose. And the adrenals are fight or flight response, and increases blood flow to the muscles in the heart. So this chakra, each chakra is connected to organs and different parts of the body. And so this one is kidneys, spine, and adrenals. And this chakra is a place for dissolving of all fear, basically balancing the past, especially with mom and dad, siblings, family, with hope, forgiveness, compassion, joy, gratitude. So, and then there's a red root cord that goes from the root chakra right down to the center of the planet, to Gaia. So, and it's a good idea to take that cord and anchor it in the planet every day. And that helps us stay in our physical form, more anchored in the physical form. Okay. So the first dimension, Albert Einstein says the first dimension is amorphous, having no defined or classified form. And he said, ideas fall into this. And ideas are simply a chemical electromagnetic event. They have no form until such time as they are brought into action and form. We have an experience of this dimension when we're brainstorming and free associating, letting ideas move and circulate throughout the interdimensional field. So the interdimensional field is connected to these 12 chakras that are in the physical form. They're portals to the dimensions. And the reason why similar concepts or scientific discoveries happen at the same time, it is from this place that the understanding of the 100 monkey emerges. So from the first dimension of ideas. And the idea of compassion, non-judgment is amazing that it's connected to this root chakra, because my principal guide told me the only mistake we make is in judgment of self or another. And so both the first and second dimensions, the reds, the deep red, and then the orangey red, hold the qualities of humility and compassion, but we're just going to look at compassion today. So the first dimensional reality of wholeness, of essence, of the spectacular ideas of each individual upon the planet and far beyond. That's the first dimension. It's a very exciting dimension. And if you actually want to meditate and feel that dimension, you can ask to go there. Albert says, when you are in your first chakra, your root, the beginning of your existence that ties you, roots you to Gaia, you are also connected to the first dimension, the dimension of the idea of who you are. All 12 dimensions are of equal value. We cannot have one without the other. You will be stymied, you will be paralyzed, you will be crippled. It will be like walking around with no kidneys, no heart, no lungs, no arms. It is an integrated whole, all the dimensions. The same way that your body and your chakra system is an integrated whole, the same way the blessings and virtues are an integrated whole. And this is where he thanked me. We were in Florida when he was talking to us. It was like a small gathering of 33 people. And he thanked me for bringing all this information together, because I'd already put together a book with the chakras, the dimensions, the blessings and virtues, and the laws. And he says, so when you are in that first chakra, first dimension, the idea, think about it, for I've had the extraordinary pleasure of talking to the mother about this, the idea of when I first incarnated, which was long before Albert, in that it is the in-breath that you are coming to fix yourself upon the planet in form. And he says, what a magnificent thing. And Steve said that he sent us a quote saying that Albert, that Saint Germain and Albert Einstein are very connected, which I found interesting. Okay, so now this is Archangel Gabriel, and she said, this is what happened, how we blocked ourselves from the higher dimensions, because this is what happened for many, many years. We're just coming out of that now. When you've been in the old third dimension very rapidly, well, you would think it took hundreds or thousands of years, and it did, but in our terms, that was fairly rapid because it diminished. What occurred in the very first dimension, in the idea of who you are, in the idea and the knowing of your expression of your of divinity, you began to eliminate, block, shield, does not matter what you call it, the idea of self-worth, of your own spectacular grandeur, from the idea of who you are. Then eventually what happened, of course, that became a little heavier, and you were eventually blocked from the first and second dimension, the same way that you were blocked in many ways from the higher dimensions, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on. So within this universe that you thought was complete was this belief system that you were not worthy, and that somehow you had to earn this value to be loved. Now, even while I speak to you, you know that this is not the truth, and it most certainly is not the essence of who you are. It's interesting that Archangel Gabriel let us know this back in 2014, how we lost our self-worth, the idea of our self-worth. You are at that place of knowing, but dear hearts, why we give you this background is so that as you work with others, you do not ignore calling upon that first dimensional reality of wholeness, of essence, of the spectacular ideas of each individual upon the planet and far beyond, and reinstalling it within them. So even just sending that the first knowing of the first dimension out into the world, to the collective, of wholeness, of the spectacular idea of each individual. So that's what I've been doing with what's happening around me, sending that out. When I saw that, when I got that, I really got that. I'm like, oh, okay. And I added it to the prayer too. Yeah. Okay. So now compassion. The colors and the rays of compassion are red and green, and it's a very deep green. It's the green of a pine forest. So like the silence of a pine forest. And when we breathe green, that ray of love, that's the ray of our heart chakra. When we sink into our heart, we breathe in the pine forest, the silence of the deep forest, of the redwood forest, and that sense of quiet, the slight dampness in the air, even though the pine needles beneath your feet are dry in a cushion, telling you that Gaia holds you softly. Breathe green, that wonderful black green. And when we go deeper into our heart and feel the compassion, that sense of allowing and understanding, and in so many ways, wisdom, no judgment, no trying to fix, Just feel that sense of peace within yourself and for yourself. That's a really beautiful definition of compassion, right in the meditation. And then bring the red down through your crown, filling the crevices of your brain, the beautiful dark ruby, the ruby of love, of old stained glass, rich red vitality of Gaia. Feel the ruby in your root chakra that connects you to Gaia. Pull that up into your heart as well and feel it merge and dancing, gently swaying with the green, the color of a blood red sunset of the red planet, and go deeper into your heart and feel that compassion. This is a divine quality that is common to all beings, not just simply to religious followings or belief systems, and not only on earth and not only amongst humans. You see it in nature, you see it amongst the animals, you see it in the masters and our star brothers and sisters. Compassion is a key to our going forward together, never in judgment, but support. We are all here to demonstrate compassion. The Buddha invites us, so you can invoke the Buddha. This is a really great exercise. I've been doing it all day and yesterday. To sit under the Bodhi tree, to share everything not of love we carry so that it may be laid down. So he helped me, even driving in the car, they would help me release sorrow before I go to do readings and stuff. So you can just feel like the sense of the Buddha being around you. And yeah, I mean, that's our greatest purpose, is the letting go. And then he asks us to tell him our dreams, our greatest hope, the knowing of our journey. And he says there are less than a handful of beings that do not know their journey, purpose, and mission. And I would imagine he's talking about the ones sort of in behind the scenes, just still manipulating, still trying to control. And he says not to feel shy or foolish thinking our dreams are too big. Judgment of the dream is not practicing compassion. So if you have an amazing idea, just send that energy of that big idea out, because there's so much to be done here. And I think it's in the embracing of just sending it out, and that helps with everything. Compassion is an action, the sharing, the letting go, the sending, and being in the perfect balance. And it's important right now that non-judgment for the last 1,000 years and the next 1,000 years, in this very moment where we inhale and exhale. So it's very much connected to the breath, the breathing in of compassion for self and the sending of compassion. And I know I did a little study of how many breaths we take in a day, and it's like thousands and thousands. So to be very conscious that we are compassion and to be sending that is pretty masterful. The Buddha says there is a tendency to try and to heal or to fix or to recalibrate, direct the journey or the pathway of another. And often this is done out of the kindest of motivations and of love. But he says you cannot interfere. You provide wisdom and love, insight and sharing, and then you stand back, detached and attached at the same time, holding the higher vision for that person and their journey, for the collective and their journey, but honoring their choices. So when I dreamed up this big therapeutic community for women, it's helped me master compassion, just stand back and watching everything and not interfering and letting people make their own decisions. Okay, so it is natural as parents and guardians to want to keep our children safe and to protect them from heartbreak, sorrow, disillusionment. It's comforting to know that these are ancient wise ones and they know what they are doing. The children of today, the bright pinks, magentas, crystals, and rainbows are born to lead the way into the new realm of new earth. We are the ones in the difficult position, entrusted as the guardian, mastering our ability not to judge their paths, standing back, honoring our children, then not judging ourselves, that if our child fails or missteps, and somehow we have as well. The same for our brilliant light worker community, to honor the pathways chosen, the pain, misery, need, to know we do not have the full understanding. So standing back like a pine forest, observing in silence, is part of the mastery of compassion, and sending love, compassion. Understanding our judgment of a situation holds the situation in place so that it's much more difficult to shift, and it adds more of the old to it. It is to be complete trust, not only in the divine plan, but in the plan of the individual. So there he puts it in really easy to understand words. So our judgment of a situation holds the situation in place. And often when I'm in the reading room, that's what I'll say. I'll say to send compassion, like it's like an infinity sign like that. And to stay out of all judgment. So it's easier said than done when it's connected to very close family members. I have to say, it's very difficult. Yeah. Okay. So then here's the Buddha explaining attachment and detachment. So this is also a law, but it's connected to compassion. So attaching to information gathering about the situation. So you want to, gather the information and then completely step back and detach from the drama, from the lower vibrations, from what holds someone on a painful journey. We detach because we never wish to contribute to that. We become the silent, still observer, like at the pine forest. I love that visual of being like a pine forest. Then attached to the fulfillment of the person's journey, not describing it or deciding what it should look like, but the divine rightness of the journey that they had determined eons ago. These journeys that we're on, there's no accident that things are happening the way they are. Attached to that vision and that rightness with and for them, and hold that vision for them without judgment, without interference, leaving them free to maneuver. Because when we are holding on to someone, trying to force them to go this way or that way for their own good, we are manipulating, and it is an ego action, and it is neither of love, nor trust, nor hope, nor prudence. He says the more we let go of some of the need to always know and understand, the better. So that's that standing back and just watching, and not trying to figure out how things are going to work. Really just standing back and if we're triggered, it's really getting in touch with our feelings, the old feeling. Because and then asking, okay, well, how does this fit in with my past? And then letting that go. So here's the Council of definition of compassion: the ability to love and serve without judgment, to be able to fully understand and heart feel another situation without entering or assuming that cloak. The understanding that another has a chosen path and that we can only offer assistance and love. We cannot complete another's journey for them, for that would be threat and tenderness, and its colors are green and red. So now here's Lao Tzu on compassion. And he said, this is for when we're looking at the really difficult situations on the planet. And he says, first, we give gratitude that we are not the one who has committed heinous acts in this life. And at the same time, to know they came with the purity of grace in their souls, and it is not lost. Was it ignored or covered? Yes. But the danger when we judge somebody else, we are judging ourselves. When we say, well, that person is a murderer, look at what they have done, they are horrible, they need to be punished. What we have done is move out of the balance, and we're setting ourselves up to be holier than thou, that we dare not misstep because we have to put ourselves in the same categories as those we have judged, and that is very painful. So it's a good thing to information gather and then stand back like a pine forest. Because often if we're really triggered by something that we witness, we may have been something like that in another lifetime. So the idea is just to, again, stand back, look at the self, ask. We can ask if it's connected to another lifetime within us, and then do the deeper forgiveness work too. And so this is the sitting under the Bodhi tree with the Buddha. And he says, when we have unburdened ourselves under the Bodhi tree, we are more free to stand up without carrying that weight on our backs, free to walk with the Buddha and travel and saying, look, we bear good news. You know, we're all, there is no judgment, basically. There is no judgment in the higher realms. So for us to let go of all the judgment within ourselves is mastery. And then Lao Tzu reminds us each journey has many, many twists and turns. And sometimes what he has found helpful is to look at what that heinous crime has created. Has there been in any way a positive outcome? He says to look to that because there is a part of us that does not want to credit the murderer with the positive outcome. We want to take credit for those who have risen to the occasion, but the catalyst for that positive behavior has come from what we judge as negative. So truly, it is safer and more rewarding internally, simply never to judge. Instead to say, I am compassionate because you have lost your way. He says that does not mean that we take on the burden of that person. It simply means that we send them that wonderful energy of healing, of acceptance and love, because they've lost their way. And in that, they are not knowing the joy of why they came. So bringing it right back to I am compassionate. Okay. And then back in May 2011, this is really interesting. Jesus Ananda spoke to us of forgiving as a state of being, the action of forgiving within and without, a constant state, just as we are in the constant state of being love. When we forgive fear in ourselves and others, we bring reassurance and the fear dissipates. And to know, this is that bubble of pink that I don't know, it was mentioned several years ago, but our star brothers and sisters are holding us in a bubble of pink, a constant state of forgiveness. And I've forgotten that. So it's all around us. They're surrounding us in this beautiful bubble of pink. He says if we're having difficulty staying in a place of forgiving, which is compassion, then to turn to him, to call on him. He will be there. He is always with us. We are the infinite spark and the unique expression of one. And because of that, we are the embodiment of infinite forgiving. So just to be able to stand back like that pine forest and send and be, and just know that we're surrounded with help. The Buddha says we've been most ambitious in our declarations of the collective. Will everyone lay down their guns or their hatreds? He says, yes, because there is no room for hatred where there is love. We are moving into the perpetrator becoming the apologist, and the apologist becoming the acceptor of the perpetrator's actions. Will there be reparations? Yes, and it is to be accepted in the spirit in which it is offered with compassion. It doesn't mean that there is a magic wand and we say today everybody changes and all is forgiven. That is not the law of karma, even during this time of karmic dispensation. There is the balancing out, but it cannot balance out until there is forgiveness, self-forgiveness, and then forgiveness of one another. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, because we never want to repeat certain atrocities, but it does mean that the edge, the vicious razor's edge of pain is not present. The other side is capable of softening that with and for us as we move through this transition. It is not simply a human undertaking. The other side is very much in service with us, and I can attest to that. They really are there to help us come into that place of that lovely pink forgiveness within and without. And then the Buddha says light workers struggle with loneliness along the journey. He reminds us he is the wayfarer. He walks and wanders the planet alone, and he will walk with us for a while. So comforting. He says, I am alone and I am you at the same time. He says, when we are in a partnership on different paths, and we feel we are not seen for what we are doing, we can practice compassion. So this is where I started sending this compassion out to the situation that I'm involved in. We can send compassion as a gift wrapped in magenta. As soon as we do this sending compassion, it comes back tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold to us, because it takes judgment and the need for approval out of the equation. Compassion has no need for approval. And this is where I started feeling what I was holding about not approved of. When we switch in the moment of feeling less than, in the moment of I'm tired of not being seen and understood, accepted and loved, if we switch and say, I am going to send compassion because this person, this group, this organization does not understand, then we're not judging them as the injurer or as the predator of our happiness. We send compassion, and then that compassion comes back at us. It works miraculously. This is mastery. So when we send compassion, we're sending first dimensional reality of wholeness, of essence, of the spectacular ideas of each individual. So basically, when compassion is connected to the first dimension of everyone knowing their wholeness and the spectacular idea of each individual, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so now this is the picture of Amelia that I put. There's the light that went across and around and then up like an arch, that it was amazing. Yeah. So, and I think this is us also. I am going to send compassion is us mastering, protecting the children as well. Because then there are no injurers or predators. Because there's no injurers or predators within. And we send it and it comes back. And that may be what happened, Lillian, when you were sending, because I was doing it at the same time and I finally got it. And it went. Yeah. I don't know, but it's right. It makes sense in the time because I was doing it right at the same time as you were. Okay. So then, but I also think, oh yes, Ken.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that just hit me is how can we use this for all the kids that have been disappearing? You know what I mean? I mean the ones that are supposedly in the hands of
The sex traffickers?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so we send the energy of compassion to the sex traffickers. I am compassion. So let's go back. So I am going to send compassion. And what you're sending is the idea of their wholeness to the person, to the sex traffickers. So it's like a wake up. They remember who they truly are and why they came. And Darren?
So then, all right, let me make sure that I get this.
Yeah.
All right, so if I'm sending compassion, what I am really asking for is telling them that we don't judge them. We understand, but we don't need to judge it, right?
Yeah.
I'm confused about this point, I guess.
Okay, so it's connected to the root chakra. So all this information we're talking about is in our root chakra. So it's the first dimension, it's compassion. And in that is the idea of our wholeness, everyone's wholeness. Everybody has that embedded within them. And so we're sending that. So green, so you can see the two colors of compassion. It's deep green like a pine forest, and then it's the red like blood. It's
Right.
embedded within our physical being, these ideas, our wholeness, the spectacular idea of self. Why we all came with these beautiful missions and purposes, not to create more havoc, but to bring everything into balance. So you're sending them the idea of their sacred purpose, of who they truly are, connected to the first dimension, connected to the root chakra, because everybody has a root chakra. Everybody is connected to the first dimension. And everybody, these understandings are embedded. Compassion is embedded within everybody. That place of non-judgment of themselves.
So are we trying to connect with their compassion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because when they start waking up, they may feel pretty badly about themselves.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So whenever you see or hear this news, or you just want to wake up in the morning and just send, or during the day, it's just a switch to the heart, deeper into the heart, and sending like an infinity sign. You just send it out I've been seeing it go like a big loop out and around and coming back, and it like coming around me too, because I want to get deeper into myself. So I'm not holding that energy in me anywhere, because we all tend to have lack of self-worth.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So this could go hand in hand with what Jesus said on the cross when he said, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Absolutely.
Right. So that was the compassion that he sent, so that it would generate and touch their own sense of who they truly are.
Yes. Yeah. And non-judgment of self. So
Right.
embedded in the root chakra is compassion, is non-judgment of self, because we've all played these roles too. If we're
Right.
really concerned about sex trafficking, we may have been a sex trafficker in another lifetime. We don't know, So
Right.
it's a matter of knowing not to judge anything. I'm triggered by these lawyers, and maybe I was a lawyer in another lifetime. So I've got to get into the place of non-judgment and just sending compassion into the whole system. So what I did was, the building that the lawyers are in, I sent the compassion, the red and the green, and then I wrapped it in magenta. So here's this thing that the Buddha says. So you can send the red and the green, and then you can wrap it like a gift as well. So I wrapped the whole building in like a shawl of magenta. So if you're working with an individual person, you can send the compassion and then wrap them in a beautiful shawl, or just the energy of mastery, so they can come into themselves. And that's why I always, these bodies with the chakra systems, they're magenta, because we're mastering ourselves. That's the energy of mastery, of non-judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. And Darren.
Yeah, I was just thinking that we not only need to send compassion to the predator, but also to the children as well, for playing that role, doing their part and exposing the predator, basically.
Yeah. And so, yes, so that's, yes. And I think when we do this, we'll be mastering protecting the children, and also that golden grid that's around the planet. That's what can help spark it up. So we're sending compassion, but it's doing a lot of different things.
Right.
Yeah, it's sparking the grid. It's because that grid, that golden grid, is our self-worth. And that's around the planet too. We have so much help.
And
So
as people's self-worth increases, their need to behave or participate in some of these lower energies will by default go away.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, but the main one is to practice, I think, is I am going to send compassion, and just know that you're sending, they're remembering who they truly are.
Right.
And the non-judgment. Yeah. And then automatically other things will happen. Okay. Okay. So the Buddha says you are letting go of the judgments of that old third prison that so many were kept in. And this is my principal guide in a reading. She said, there is no such thing as mistakes. The only mistakes humans make is in judgment, when they judge themselves or others to be less than, when they do not see the glory of their own divinity. And that is just sad. So, yeah. And then the Buddha says often judgment is quite personal, even when we say it in a general way. If we go deeper, we peel it a little deeper, we find we are judging or criticizing an individual, often ourselves, and we're not recognizing the divinity of another or self. We're not calling out to that divinity to rise up, and that's what compassion does. It calls out for that divine spark to rise up rather than defensive.
Right.
Yes, Ken.
Does that apply to forgiveness?
Yeah.
In other words, forgiveness is obviously a part of compassion, right?
Yes.
All right. So when we're sending compassion, are we sending forgiveness along with it?
Yeah, it automatically goes with it.
Okay.
Anything of the red rays, like, so Gaia is red, compassion's got red in it. It goes right up into the pink flame of the heart chakra. That's grace. That's all the blessings and virtues. It's forgiveness. And that's why I do the angel rising out, like we are divine, remembering our pinkness, which is our forgiveness of everything, which is our compassion, which is our grace, which is everything. And it's interesting that we're calling out for that divinity to rise up, and that's exactly what compassion does. It calls out for that divine spark of gratitude for self, really, the courage it takes to be here. And especially if you go off the path, that to come back and to forgive yourself, basically. And then the Buddha says, so rather than us getting defensive, yeah, the need to defend needs to be gone. It serves no purpose. So we tend to get defensive when, I think we're in judgment. And especially of self. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lack of self-worth again.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when it says the blessing and virtue, the blessing can be hope in the stillness, and hope is the understanding of the mother, the father, the one, that perfect balance inside of us. And the virtue can be the joy, the creation, the gratitude, all the golden, the self-worth. So each blessing and virtue, each divine quality has these two components of the mother and the father energy within them. So it's usually stillness and movement, hope. And see, the blessing can be sending energy as well. That is the movement. And virtue is more like divine alignment, the laws also. more like the sunshine, and then this is more like the water, the movement of the water. So there's that perfect balance within both energies, blessing and virtue, creating the divine quality, the mother and the father. It all just relates back to that perfect balance inside of us of the divine mother, the divine father, and the one. And then he goes on, he says, the Buddha recommends this very supportive question to another. Do you feel in every moment of every day that you are the fullness of who you are? And he says, what we are saying is, I support you in what you desire in your path. I'm not expressing agreement or disagreement. I am supporting you in love. And he said, there are very few beings on our planet when approached in that way with such unconditional support and permission to become, that they do not flourish, because in that question is also the opening for a very human conversation. You know, I've always wanted to try and do this, but I have self-defeating mechanisms. Then there is advice and sharing, and that is different than compassion. It is true heart conversation. So compassion is standing back and sending and not judging. And this is, but when you're having the heart conversation, it doesn't mean that either of us have the fullness of the answers we are seeking. It means we are seeking together, and that is becoming, that is the path of enlightenment. So that's a really beautiful way to be around people, everyone on the path. I often say to Jojo, I am right beside you. I am supporting you. I don't tend to agree or disagree. Like, I try not to. I try just to be really neutral, but it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It
that's the mastery. Just to stand right beside in support. Okay, so now we're on to the universal law of sacred purpose. Yes, Ken.
So when we send compassion, seeing the other person or persons as their divinity.
Yes. That's
Okay.
an excellent idea. Yes. So that's the divinity to rise up. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Even seeing them as this like bright pink angel, you know, because that's who everybody, we are all divine inside, in who we truly are. We're all divine. We're all angels. We began our journey from the very beginning, angelic, every single being. And then we go on the journey. Okay, so now how the universal laws connect in to the root chakra, because the root chakra is connected to the spine, and the spine is like the divine alignment of universal law, how things work. And the universal laws are simply the laws of this universe. They are the understanding of how your universe works and operates. The basis of all these laws is love. There cannot be a universal law that does not have its foundation in love. That is the core and the substance of the multiverse, of the omniverse. And we're here to embody the laws. So I did this bright yellow line down through all the chakras, us remembering 13 laws basically for our divine alignment and embodiment of them. And this is just to give you a bit of an overview. So the root chakra connected to our blood, the mother's flow, and the spine, which is the father's divine alignment. That's what's so interesting about this. The first dimension of ideas is connected to the idea of our sacred purpose and non-judgment. And the blessing and virtue of compassion is the sending and the alignment with non-judgment. So the flow, like the mother's flow, blessing, and alignment, like universal law, with non-judgment. And there is not a law that is not of love, and therefore any thought, any action, every opinion that you have that is less than is not in accordance with universal law, not in accordance with the law of purpose. So you can see how it all combines together so simply. Amazing, so simple. Okay. So everything throughout the universe has purpose. Every atom and subatomic particle, everything has purpose. This is something that's been forgotten. And the universal law of sacred purpose includes, embraces, embodies self-determination and choice. Within that, in alignment with the mother's plan, there isn't a lot of choice, but there are variation. The law of sacred purpose is the same for the atoms that compose a table, a planet, the hair on our head or lack thereof, our blood, skin, heart, mind, our entire being. We are an integrated person, a human that has many of these fibers and particles coming together in divine purpose to serve us, to assist in the fulfillment of who we are, what our promise is, what our heart's desire is, what we choose to do. So even when we're sending compassion, we're sending the awakening of someone to their purpose at the same time, because that's connected to the root chakra. On Venus, where Sanat Kumara is from, this learning has been incorporated for a very long time, but in the beginning, they too had the same questions and struggles. SK says for us to leave the worry to him and to simply allow this knowing to float within us, to be anchored deeply, not only within our heart, but within our very bones. So that's the root chakra, connection to the spine and the laws. Daily meditation, sitting still in hope, is important for the integration of this understanding and knowing, the integration of these energies. Okay, and then this is the meditation. So this is a really beautiful thing to do daily too, is just to open the crown chakra and allow the golden radiance that's all around from the sunlight and from the planet to come in and fill your entire being, your body, because gold is connected to joy, is connected to self-worth, is connected to creation, is connected to gratitude for everything. Like you sent me that post today, Ken. Yeah, so the embodiment and the feeling of bringing gold in from above, but also from below as well, from the Council Fire and Gaia in the center of the planet, just bringing it up into your heart, all that golden energy. Archangel Gabriel says that gold and joy is the anti-aging agent. Like it's just so, it just creates perfect healing within the physical form. So to embody gold is a really beautiful way to eradicate all doubt, all fear, all hesitation. And he says also, so you go into the heart chakra and then there's that pinprick of white light in the middle. So you fly through that pinprick and you go into your heart, into the inner chambers. And inside of your heart are these wonderful golden chambers, these golden walls, and they are covered with inscriptions, writing, and symbols, and ancient languages. And our sacred purpose is written there. So long ago, before you came, you ensured in tandem with your guardian angels and your guides and the mother that your sacred purpose would be inscribed on the walls of your heart, so that you would always know, and when the time was right, the fullness of that knowing would come to your conscious being. So it's just taking the time to fly in there and sit in there in those golden chambers, and really, as we get more comfortable doing that, we send that energy of that knowing to everyone as well. That's people's divinity rising up, basically, when we send the compassion. What you have written on the walls of your heart, what have you written on the walls of your heart with regards to your specific, unique, sacred purpose? So, and this information just unfolds. It's because even Archangel Michael's sacred purpose is still unfolding, and he's really ancient. So it's the same with us. It's always unfolding. We can always reach new levels. There's always more.
You know, Kathleen, this has been one of the things that I struggled with too, to try to find what my purpose is, right? Remember when I started this whole journey? And it was so, my son is doing that now. And it's the old third dimension of feeling like we have to be doing,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're not meeting an internal standard that we've been conditioned to believe.
Yep.
And I'm trying to explain to him that it's just being and getting quiet, and your answers will come. And it's so frustrating. And it's ironic to now watch me observe him doing the same thing that I stumbled around. And I just thought I would share that, because this has been really, it's been hard doing versus just settling in and being for a little bit, getting quiet. And,
Exactly.
I thought I'd share that with you guys.
That's beautiful, it's very much connected to compassion, being like a pine forest, being like a tree. And so the more we can still the mind and just anchor into the heart, we the way becomes more clear.
Right.
And but it's that
And
still
you're right. It unfolds. It does unfold ever so gently.
yes, it's
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
yes. And the thing that we struggle with the most is stilling the mind,
Right.
dropping into the
Right.
heart. And I think that's why they have this golden chamber in the heart to fly into. And I mention it to people in the reading room, and I say it's really fun to sit in there. It's way more fun to meditate in the golden chambers than try to do it from the mind. So it's just a practice, though, to do that.
Right.
Fly in that. So bring in all the gold from above and below into the heart space, like fill the whole body with gold, and then fly in through the green and in through the pinprick and into the golden chambers and sit in there. And even if you only last 10 seconds, don't worry about it. Get up and do it the same time the next day, so that it just grows and grows and grows. So you can sit there for a long time. So it's out of the monkey mind and in the heart, in the golden chambers. And that's the knowing of our self-worth, creation, joy, gratitude, perfect healing. Yes, Darren.
Yeah, I believe now that you can't meditate in the head at all. You have to move into the heart to truly meditate. That's the only place where true meditation takes place. And you, like you say, you just sit there quietly and observe everything in perfect stillness. And that's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I agree. And then just allow, and oftentimes messages will come from other people. So when you're still enough, that then people will let you know what the path is, or ideas, and then often we'll get ideas as well within. So it's a good idea to have a notebook whenever you're sitting in your heart chambers. Have a notebook, because the ideas come. Okay, so alignment with sacred purpose. We create flow, alignment with sacred purpose, letting go. So and that's the deep forgiveness of self, our core issues of sorrow, shame, anger, fear, the entrenched beliefs, the hatred, judgment, doubt, worry, anxiety, limitation, control. When things seem not to be working, we feel like we are not in the flow, we are at a red light. That is an indication we need to look deeper within to align with our heart consciousness Often it's gratitude for self, others, not the old patterns of lack of self-worth and lack of self-love, I'm not good enough, or other similar thoughts. No need for high drama, but to backtrack, regroup until we are in the flow. Green light again with our higher selves, universal self guides, masters, and with the mothers. Every thought, action, opinion that is not of love is not in alignment with universal law. Universal laws are birthed from love. Every universal law is love. So our forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, peace, love, joy for everyone we have met and we meet on the journey is being in alignment with sacred purpose. Okay, so we are one family. So we're moving into that one community. But in order for that to happen, for there to be safety, we're in the sending of compassion, for the waking up of everyone to remember who they truly are, sending them the remembrance of who, the idea of their sacred purpose, of their wholeness, of their essence. Yeah. Understanding the joy, the gratitude for the knowing of our sacred purpose is important. We, in the knowing of our sacred purpose, are the unfoldment of the Mother's plan for Gaia, just as all of nature's harmonious creation fulfillment. We make it difficult for ourselves if we're not clear what our sacred purpose is. Sanat Kumara welcomes us to sit in the sacred chamber of our heart with him and allow the knowing of our sacred purpose to come forth in alignment with the universal law of sacred purpose. Our sacred purpose is unique to each of us, and SK is here to answer our questions. So you can invoke him when you're doing, like, sitting in the heart chamber and you'd like to know more. And oftentimes sacred purpose is, like Paula said, just being. It is, because that is the best thing to master, the being, rather than running around all over the place. That stillness. He says, rejoice in the knowing of the gratitude for our sacred purpose. So even practicing gratitude for the little things every day is everyone's sacred purpose. The more we're in gratitude, the more the old stuff just dissolves. Gratitude is one of the best ways of being to embrace, because that's actually joy. Joy, that definition is gratitude for sacred purpose, but it's anchoring in gratitude, waking up in gratitude for the little things. It is of love, of joy, of one, and with this we are creating a universe of love and a multiverse of love. The sacred purpose of this planet was never density. Gaia's sacred purpose is to return to a planet of love, a place for angels to play. Gaia herself is an archangel. The mother infused her with her idea, with the energies to bring forth this planet of ultimate beauty. Our ascension is freedom in form, to be able to experience the different realities and dimensions 1 through 12. When that is anchored, when the model is set, other planets will take the pattern, the energetic imprint of Gaia and humanity, and be able to utilize that for their own populations so they may rise back to the place of love. So these other planets are highly intelligent, but they have not perfected the grid of love. We are not to underestimate grieving, to acknowledge one's own sorrow and the atrocities to Gaia of war, famine, the meanness, cruelty to each other. We cannot witness that and be in our heart and not feel grief and sorrow. But the key is to allow it to go, to let it go. We are to feel the grief and sorrow, to heal it, talk to the pain, ask it questions. Our guides will help us understand what it is, and then extend the forgiveness and the compassion and the gratitude. Part of the original joy of this planet was we could pop in for 30 seconds or 3,000 years from a drop of water to human form. So, and soon we'll be able to decide to stay for hundreds, thousands of years or go on to another mission. So it's just a matter of bringing it all back to the original purpose. Return to a planet of love. Yeah. The third dimension, as it is being cleaned up, we're breaking the illusions so we can experience not only free choice, but physicality and have the experience of all the dimensions. We don't want to eradicate the gifts directly from the heart of the mother. Fairies, pine forest, babies. We're making peace with the old third and embracing the new cleaned up third. From that place in body, we operate anchored in the fifth, but still having a physical experience, able to embrace the magic, the alchemy, the creativity, the mastery. The key as we go forward is to love ourselves. And yes, we are in our mastery. We've just forgotten. Our individual sacred plan is to be in alignment with divinity and with our divinity. It is what ascension is about. The purpose, the collective purpose of humanity at this juncture, what we think of as time is ascension. What is ascension? It is moving into heart consciousness, the restoration of love, the alignment of heart, mind, will with the heart, mind, and will of the Mother, Father, One. And you can always invoke SK. He loves to help. When you're sitting still in the heart chamber, the golden heart chambers, or even just sitting still, and then allow the energy, because the understandings, he's really good at bringing the understandings forward. He wants us to understand. He didn't give up on me today until I got I got what I needed to get. Because sometimes it's difficult. And so our own belief systems are very insidious and tricky.
How are you feeling now?
What's that?
How are you feeling now?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awareness sets us free. Yeah. Okay. So universal law is not complex. It's about that alignment. It simply tells us the how to. It is to never be dismissive of people, but dismissive of false ideas. SK urges us to sit down and allow the other side to make themselves known. We are meeting in the middle, and surrender is the complete opening of our heart. We are surrendering to our beloved sacred self, to our sacred purpose. It's good to just lie down and say, I surrender, and I will hear, and I will allow. Surrender and let the voices come, or the understandings speaking to our heart to come. Yeah, I highly recommend that. It's just lying on your bed and just saying, I surrender, because that's a good way to understand if there's confusion. And then we are planting our feet in Gaia, deeply embedded in the heart of Gaia, a minimum of once a day, because we're on this journey with Gaia. Drop our root cord, or our cord, out of our root chakra. See ourselves going down through the layers of the earth to her, directly to the heart of Gaia. And then you actually give her your root cord. We give her our heart, and we remain firmly anchored in Gaia. That is how we remain fully anchored in the fifth dimension. So the fifth dimension is all about gratitude. So when we go down and drop our cord down and we give it to Gaia and we say thank you, then that helps us stay in the gratitude for self as well. Okay. And then ego, the best thing to do with ego is just love it. It's a delightful part of our personality. We just love our ego. Tell it, talk to it, reassure it, love it, appreciate it, and then set it aside. And we're here to assume our divine authority. So that's that, the more compassion we send out and it comes back to us, that just rises up our right to be in the freedom of who we are, be in the glory of who we are, in a way that is fully cooperative, collegial, embracing, unitive. And just to remember, our operating system is universal law. Begins embracing every minute detail of our sacred purpose. And then he gives us some ideas. Is our sacred purpose to be a father, a mother, a friend, a brother, a sister, a writer, a surgeon, a communicator, the first being to operate a starship, to create Nova Earth, regenerate the earth, the air, the soil. So it's all metaphors too. It's just a matter of embracing the self in the stillness, and to consistently doing that. Same time, same chair, notebook. And this was very interesting. This is the end. Jesus, he said at a very early age, around 5.5, he was completely reunited or filled with the Holy Spirit, a full reconnection to Father, Mother, One. Imagine at 5, what you think of as God or source, what I can think of as Mother, Holy Spirit took place. So that awareness and that connection, that knowing, and what you think of as information was available to him from the start, or from a very early age. But he was also of a very educated family, one that placed great value, not just my mother or father, but my entire family placed value on the learning and what you can think of as the sacred learnings of both Hebrew, certainly of the laws as a Jew, but also the universal laws. He knew the universal laws. And then he learned languages and traveled. And then he also says here, I'm going to say, if you believe in me the way I believe in you, if you love me the way I love you, the way the mother, father loves you, the way that Sanat Kumara loves you, the way Archangel Michael loves you, if you love in that way, then there is no sin, because you are in alignment. There is this belief that good people do bad things. That is not so. When you are in the truth of your being, your mind, your heart, your soul, and if you believe in love, then yes, anything can be forgiven. The biggest obstacle has always been the forgiveness of self, forgiveness of each other. I agree. Okay, and that brings us right back to all that is really embedded within the root chakra. So much information connected to flow, connected to perfect alignment, connected to the first dimension of ideas, non-judgment, compassion, sacred purpose. Yeah. Amazing how much information in one small little area about the size of a quarter. Okay. There we go. Now, do we have any comments or questions? Oh, that took an hour and a half. I didn't realize it was going to take that long. Okay. Well, why don't I just, I'm going to turn off the recordings. I'm going to say thank you to everybody, and I'm just going to close this down.